I'm Charla with Freezer Meals 101. Today I'm going to be making meals to take with us on our annual family ski trip, and we've been doing this for so long that I kind of know what works best, and so I've got a menu planned out. So I'm going to be making buffalo chicken quesadillas, Dr. Pepper pulled pork, chili, chicken noodle soup, breakfast quesadillas, hash brown casserole, also for breakfasts. Mexican lasagna is my husband's favorite. Italian sausage pasta sauce, and then I might make some muffins or zucchini loaf or something like that to bring that we can just have in the freezer and pull out for quick snacks. Anyway, I think this is gonna go really well. It's gonna make my life so much easier when we're on the hill. I actually don't ski, but I still love going on our ski trip. It's so great for family time. We play board games in the evening, and it's just a very relaxed atmosphere. I work while we're there, but I still feel like it's a break for me because I've got the beautiful mountain views. I'm actually gonna be editing this video when I'm there, so I'll put some pictures in it so that you guys can see what I mean about these gorgeous mountain views, and it makes it feel like not work at all. But the other thing that makes it feel like a break is when I plan the meals ahead and don't really have to do much when we're there. So we're gonna start with the buffalo chicken quesadillas. For these, I take this for my lunches. When the kids come in off the hill for lunch, they usually have something like leftover chili or soup or something like that, whereas I'm there for longer and I can take a longer lunch break, so I make myself a quesadilla either in the oven or the skillet, and I make some homemade guacamole to go with it. I love it, and I could eat it every day, so it's actually a huge treat for me. So what I've done is I've gotten all the things prepped here. So we had a nacho bar with my brother and his wife the other night, and so this is actually left from that. So that was 2 nights ago, so this is still pretty fresh. I've got green onions, purple onions, tomatoes, red pepper, jalapeños, and buffalo chicken. And so I'm just gonna be putting that on the flour tortillas. Now the trick when you're freezing this, oh, and of course cheese. I forgot to mention cheese, but cheese. I like a habanero blend. You can use Tex-Mex or you can grate your own cheddar, mozza, whatever cheese you like. It works with this. What you need to know about freezing quesadillas though is that you wanna put them on a cookie sheet and then fold them in half once you put all your things on there, and then you're gonna freeze the cookie sheet. Once it's fully frozen, then you'll take it out, transfer it to your bag. I can usually fit, I think 4 or 5 in a bag, and then you get the air out of there, seal it, freeze it again, and then you're good to go. You don't want to put them right into the bag because everything's going to fall apart. It's not going to be solid. It won't turn out well, trust me. So we're going to do this the proper way today, and we're going to get this going. Great thing about quesadillas is you can put anything you want in them. You could make these with taco meat instead of the buffalo chicken. You could make them vegetarian if you want. You could put olives in here. You can add whatever you want. And if you don't like jalapeños, you can skip that, or if you just don't like it as spicy, you could use the pickled jalapeños. So there's a lot of variety that you can do when it comes to quesadillas. I'm just gonna stick this in my freezer and we'll get started on the second tray. The next thing I'm gonna make is the breakfast quesadillas because of course I'm gonna use a lot of the same ingredients, the cheese, the onions. Gonna cut some more red pepper, but I'm gonna use red pepper for that. And then I've got a little bit of cooked bacon here that I'm gonna use, and scrambled eggs. And I'm gonna do them on smaller flour tortillas. The reason I am doing breakfast quesadillas and not breakfast burritos is that I am so bad at rolling the burritos, which I think has been well established here. So anyway, we're just gonna do breakfast quesadillas. So I'm just gonna scramble up some eggs to do that, and then I will be back. We'll get that started. Especially good if you serve them with salsa. But anyway, that'll make a great breakfast for those early mornings when the kids want to get on the hill as soon as it opens. And be nice for me because I will not have to make breakfast. So yeah, I'm off to scramble eggs. So here's a bit of a funny thing. When I was planning this, I didn't really think about the fact that I only have a certain amount of cookie sheets, and a lot of the things I'm doing require cookie sheets today. So I have a cookie sheet in the oven with some Italian sausage meatball kind of things that I squeezed out of the casing, and they're cooking in the oven on a cookie sheet. And then of course I had 2 cookie sheets being held hostage in my freezer while the regular quesadillas were freezing. So I'm gonna transfer those into bags now. Then we will get started on the breakfast quesadillas so that they can use the same cookie sheets. Okay, here we go. These are pretty frozen, but they're not as frozen as I would normally wait for them to be, but they're frozen enough that they will hold together, and then I will just freeze the bag pretty flat initially. So, but we're doing good here. Okay, let me grab the other one. Okay, pop this back in the freezer and we will get started on the breakfast quesadillas. So for these, I'm gonna use these smaller flour tortillas. And just, again, this is one of those recipes where you can change anything up. So your basics is you're gonna need your scrambled eggs. Other than that, you can use cooked breakfast sausage, bacon. You can have no protein in that whatsoever. You can use ham. Then you can add whatever vegetables that you want. Usually when I do my scrambled eggs, I add some whipping cream to fluff them up, and I add some chives, fresh chives. But right now, my herb garden that is usually right there and brings me a lot of joy, I'm washing it and kind of restarting all of them. So I don't have any fresh chives. So I'm gonna do green onions in place of the fresh chives today. And won't be quite the same, but I have a similar idea. And then I chopped up some more red peppers because I really wanted that. So all I'm doing for these is some scrambled eggs, bacon, cooked already, bacon, and then a little bit of vegetable with the green onion and red pepper. Don't think I'm gonna add any jalapeños or anything because these are mostly for my kids and my husband, but that way I don't have to label what's what. So just add some red pepper, green onion, and bacon. And then I'm gonna top them with some cheese. That way when we go to cook them, which we'll probably just cook them on a plate, on a paper towel in the microwave, just heat them up that way. And that way the cheese will melt, it'll stay together, it'll be really delicious. So we ended up with 9 breakfast burrito or breakfast quesadillas, which might sound like I planned it perfectly since there's 9 people in our family. But all I did was cook up 10 eggs and this is what it gave me. So it was not as planned as it sounds. Anyway, we are now going to move on to making our hash brown casserole. So we are just gonna melt some butter, and I'm just gonna do that in the microwave. So, and then we're gonna add some canned mushroom soup, some onion, pepper, paprika, and cheddar cheese. I'm gonna mix that all together, and then I'm gonna add some frozen hash browns and that's seriously it. Sometimes I add some cooked sausage into this, either breakfast sausage, or our preference actually is just a spicy Italian sausage in this. But this time I'm just gonna make it as is. It's kind of gonna feel like we're getting to have like a special brunch. I'll probably make eggs with it that morning, but it's just, you know, when you're on vacation, you kind of want to feel like you get special food. So because this is usually something that we have for holidays like Christmas morning, or if we're having company over or something like that, I know that we're all gonna really like it and it's gonna be a treat. So let's get this underway. Now we've got our hash brown casserole ready to go into the slow cooker or the oven once we get there. You'll notice that I'm choosing a lot of slow cooker recipes, and the reason for that is I'm gonna bring the crock pot with me, and I'm not sure what they have at, you know, the condo that we're staying at. I don't know what kind of things they have for the oven, if they're big enough to hold something like this. I don't know if they have casserole dishes, that kind of thing. So if I bring the crock pot, that way, not only will it work perfectly for things like the pulled pork and the soups, but it will also make it so that for things like this, if it doesn't work out to go in the oven, I can use the crock pot as a backup. So that's my plan. I love my crock pot. I even sometimes bring it with us when we go camping because, again, it just makes things super easy. I can smell that Italian sausage cooking right now in the oven. It's not quite ready, but it's getting close. Those Italian sausage meatballs are almost cooked, but I realized that they're gonna have to cool before I actually put them in the bag, because if you put things that are too hot in your bag, it causes moisture, which again can lead to your freezer burn and to things just not having the right texture when you thaw and reheat them. So we're gonna skip that for now and move on to it, probably do it at the end. I'm going to do the Mexican lasagna, which is, like I said, it's my husband's favorite. I often make this and double it, and we have one for dinner that night, and then we have another one, you know, in the freezer. But, oh, I have a video on doubling your dinners, so I will put that link right there. Anyway, this will be a good one to show you overhead. So I'm gonna flip the camera to an overhead view, so that way you get the idea of what I'm doing when I'm layering and when I'm creating like the mixture thing that goes in the layers. So we'll get to that, and then at the end, then I'll do the chili, the pulled pork, the chicken noodle soup, and then at the end, we'll come back, and once those sausage little bit meatball-y things have cooled, then I can show you making that pasta sauce. For my Mexican lasagna, I always make it with the Eve's Mexican ground round, which is a veggie beef, so this is vegetarian, but you can make it with real beef if you want. I mix that with some cheddar cheese soup, green chilies, cheese, and salsa, and then I layer that in between those oven-ready lasagna noodles, and then cover it with foil and cheese before the foil, and then before I bake it, I add a little bit of water and it's ready to go. The chicken noodle soup, I just use 2 chicken breasts, some carrots, onions, garlic, thyme, a bay leaf, chicken broth, water, parsley, salt, and pepper. If you're not allergic to celery like I am, then you can totally add celery. On the day that I cook this, I'm gonna add egg noodles into the crock pot at the end of the cooking, well, 20 minutes-ish before the end of cooking, and then we will have this delicious chicken noodle soup, which is perfect for like a cold day when the kids come in off the hill and they're hungry but want kind of that warm comfort food thing. The Dr. Pepper pulled pork is going to be perfect because it feeds a crowd and it's great for a really easy lunch or supper. We like to serve it on buns with a coleslaw and sometimes with garlic mayo. Anyway, we've just got pork in here and onion, a can of chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. Now, if those peppers are too spicy for you, then I suggest that you still add them at this point, but then when you go to serve it, you can just pull them out and that'll make it a little less spicy. Actually, take them out before you shred it, really. And then you're gonna add 2 cans of Dr. Pepper, some brown sugar, salt, and pepper, and that's it. But this is such a flavorful meal. Well, I messed up on this one. I didn't push the record button when I was filming making my chili overhead. So I have added a video clip from the last time my neighbor Christy and I made freezer meals. And of course, when we do that, we make 4 at a time. So you can see us assembling this exact same chili recipe that I made to bring skiing. But this is obviously not the one I made for this trip. So it's got our ground beef, lots of onions, cumin, chili powder, pepper. It's got tomato paste, tomato sauce, kidney beans, pinto beans, or we use the chili style pinto beans sometimes, and some diced tomatoes, a can of tomato soup. It's just a really good hearty meal, and this will be perfect for skiing. For the Italian sausage sauce, we've got our cooked, sausage meatball-y things, and then the thing that makes this recipe so fast to come together is we're using salsa. So everything in there is like pre-cut. You use a chunky salsa. You can use medium, mild, spicy, whatever your preference is. And the salsa also contains some of that flavor that you're looking for. Recipe calls for green pepper. I of course had red pepper, and so that will still work in there. And then we're gonna add some garlic and capers. You can find this recipe as well as the other recipes that we used, except for things like the breakfast quesadilla, where obviously I didn't use a recipe for that, in the description down below. We really like capers, so I'm adding a little more than what the recipe calls for. And that's it. Now we have a very tasty pasta sauce. And when we're there, I can just cook up some noodles, drain them, throw this on top, and we've got another dinner. Things like the breakfast quesadillas, I didn't use a recipe, but everything that I used a recipe for, I did go to the Freezer Meals 101 Club to print off those recipes really easily, and of course, to make my shopping list, because that's the part about freezer cooking that I used to dread, and now it's super easy. So you can find the link for the Freezer Meals 101 Club also down below. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a slice. And now that I have these meals done, I know that this ski trip is gonna be so much more relaxing for me. And even if I'm working, it doesn't really feel like work when you've got views like this. I'm gonna stick a video right here of fast and easy slow cooker meals, because as we've established today, I kind of am in a love affair with my crock pot. Anyway, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for joining me today, and happy cooking.